basically, I just wanted to, it won't probably won't be too long. I expect this to be 20 minutes or so. And so we'll kind of roll through all of this and hopefully create a way for you to escape that 9 to 5, right? Kind of get your freedom back. And that's really the goal of this webinar. So we call it the escape plan just because most people are feeling stuck and want to get out of their plan. So I'll share, I think you know some of this, but I'll share my story a little bit. So, um, 12 years of real estate experience, give or take. I mean, depends on how you do that math, but bought a property in college, actually, was my first purchase. But since then, we've scaled up to 1,000 units in multifamily. And I do think that I mean, there's a million ways to make money in real estate, but we've just chosen multifamily as our personal one. We actually ended up moving to Spain in August of 24. So we live in Spain now, and that's um, my choice and my family's choice, my wife's choice to basically say, all right, well, now we don't necessarily have to be at a 9 to 5 punch a clock kind of grind. And that's what this webinar is all about. We moved to Spain just by choice. We want to spend time with our family, and that's really what it's all about. So hopefully I'm here to say I'm no better or different than anyone. You can absolutely do this without question. And that's kind of what this blueprint or escape plan is all about. It's just say you can totally do it. If you want to escape it, it's very possible. So, I mean, I think the reason I asked that question about being stuck is I resonate with that fully. I felt like whenever I was working, I was just like grinding. I was just punching the clock. And I remember looking at my retirement plan when I first started working. It was like a 35-year plan to your retirement. I was like, oh my gosh, that's literally significantly older than I am when I first started working. And I'm like, how could I possibly envision being here for that long? So I started looking at other ways to make money and fell into real estate. And I think if you do some reading, you'll find that real estate's pretty powerful. But for me, I was just kind of lucked into it, honestly. And then I eventually got to this basically where we're talking about today is how can I scale this? How can I actually use this to get out of my job and move on with my life rather than just build a little bit of side income and maybe a little bit of wealth? It was more like, how do I replace it? And we'll kind of go through that stuff today. But if you're feeling a little stuck, I totally resonate with that. So what we're going to cover today is basically how to build a sustainable real estate business from the ground up. So what does that look like? I mean, what does it look like to build a real estate business? So we'll talk a little bit about that. Strategies that really are like not necessarily taking your time, but how utilizing your time for the best use. And then what can you start on right now? And then, of course, how do you avoid burnout and systems? And then how to make that leap from 9 to 5 is ultimately the end all be all, right? So let me just ask, are you feeling stuck? And I'll just give me a nod, thumbs up, whatever. Do you feel stuck in some ways? If you're either, and look at this, the next slide will show this, you're certainly not alone, but are you either buying one or two or three and you're sort of feeling like, oh, this is sort of a hamster wheel, or maybe you're stuck in your job and you're looking for your first investment, but that feeling of, ugh, like, how do I get out of this? I totally understand. And again, you're certainly not alone. If you've bought a couple, you might say, okay, well, now I have this kind of side hustle. In some cases, it's even more work to have a couple of, single families or rentals or something. And you're just not necessarily getting out of your job yet. So the goal here is to think a little bigger. How can you really scale and take it to the next level? One thing I want to say is, I don't resonate necessarily with instead of buying one, it's the same work as buying 100. I don't believe in that totally, but I do believe in let's scale smarter. So I do believe buying a duplex is about the same amount of work as buying a 10plex. And buying a 10plex is about the same amount of work as buying a 20plex. And basically after that, buying 50 and more is about the same. It's significantly more once you kind of make that jump, but it's totally, totally doable. So the question is, all right, let's say you need 10 hours a week or whatever it is to buy a couple of rentals, or you need 10 hours a week to buy a larger multi. I do believe that you can start small. You can buy one or two. That's totally fine. It's a great way to learn. But eventually taking the scale is really the way to springboard. It's really the way to grow and get you out of your job. So that's what we'll talk about too. So people ask me right now, like, what is the deal with 2025? Why now? And this comes up quite a bit because people are trying to time the market, I think. And first of all, No one can time the market. No one knows what's going to happen. It's just a reality, especially current environment. And that's not new, but we do have a new president. But I mean, the new environment we're in now, the stock market's really volatile. We have all kinds of questions going on. We really don't know what's going to happen. So, but what we can do is look back. We can look back at historically what's happened. And what happened basically between 2020 and 2022, 3 was people were buying at low rates, bridge rates, and floating rates, meaning they bought a property that was like 2 years bridge debt that was floating or maybe would come due after 2 years, or they just bought a floating rate debt, meaning that that rate could climb along with how rates in the market climb. And so lots and lots of people have to sell now. And I'm seeing this now. We're seeing a huge influx of properties that are distressed or the sellers need to get out. So I like this one in bold. Roughly 42% of all commercial real estate loans are maturing in 24 or 25, and it totals 500 billion. So 42% is $200 billion worth of real estate is coming due in 2025 alone. So we have more than half the year left. This is going to be an incredible influx of properties, and we're definitely seeing that. The sad part is some people are losing investor capital. That's kind of the bummer. So what we keep hearing is, okay, well, why would I jump in now? Because people are losing money. It's actually, if you flip the script, well, it's like, yeah, it's really, I don't want people to lose money. It's unfortunate, but because of that is a good reason to get in now. That's my opinion. A little bit more on this. So basically what this is saying is if your property couldn't sustain that higher risk, a lot of those are going to default and a lot of those need to be sold. They're going to be in levels of refinance risk, or they just have to sell, right? And so again, I'm seeing more deals now in across the board, whether it's single family, self-storage, uh, multifamily, any of those are seeing more deals now. So I think now is a great time to be in there. So we call this freedom framework. What do we do? So this kind of just lays it out. I'm not going to read all this, but basically we want to lay the foundation, build something from start. And by that, I mean, let's not just start throwing darts, right? Let's start thinking about the goal, the vision, and build a true foundation. Steady growth. The reality of most real estate is it's not a get rich quick scheme. It's just not. It is a slow game. It takes time to build wealth. The cool thing is by slow, it could be 3 to 5 years. Sometimes the first deal could be within 6 months and it totally changed the world. So it's slow, but it's not incredibly like 40 years slow, like my first retirement package. Second one is systematized. So once you have kind of the foundation and sort of the layout, then it's like, okay, how do you get organized? How do you create efficiencies? How do you take out steps you don't need? Things like that. And then once you have that, then it's time to scale. And now it's like, okay, who can I partner with? Who can what's my zone of genius? I'll talk a little bit more about that later. And how can you grow that from there and just truly scale and just sort of springboard? All right, so let's start with what you have. And this is, I talk about this quite a bit. People say, well, I spent my life doing X. I'm a lawyer, I'm a doctor. I talked to an anesthesiologist yesterday. He's like, I hate my job. I want to get out of it so bad. And he's like, I just hate to throw all that away. And the interesting thing is, in almost most cases, you're never throwing it away. I mean, so again, a broker I talked to, he was a surveyor before he turned broker, and he was like, man, I'm so glad I have that experience because now I can look at contracts, I can look at surveys, I can look at site plans, all kinds of stuff, and it comes in handy. It's same for me. I used to be an engineer. That comes in handy. I look at the inspection reports. I just happen to be good at technical things. I can look at the survey, all that stuff. And so it's like, just because I spend a lot of time and energy, money becoming an engineer, what it does too is it makes me a great problem solver. So you just kind of have to take, okay, what have you learned in your past life? Chances are it's going to transfer. For example, the person I talked to yesterday is an anesthesiologist. He's not going to be sticking needles in real estate, but he will be good under pressure. He will probably likely be fine with stress. He'll probably be a highly motivated person. He'll probably be okay with some long hours at times. There's just skills that you can transfer is what I'm trying to say. So start with what you have. And let's say you're flipping houses. That's an amazing skill. You can, let's say you're short-term rentals, again, wholesaler, whatever it is. What are you good at? And so that's really the key. is the kind of bottom bold here is what are you good at? What do you love to do? And more importantly, what do you not like to do? And that's really a great team out for you is what's the thing that you're amazing at? Stick to that. Really good at that. And then I was afraid of partnerships. So um, I basically was afraid to give stuff up, I guess, or maybe more, I was afraid to let people down. But in reality, that's sort of foolish. So I could find partners who are excellent at something else, join with them, and I could do the things that I was good at. All right, so what are some systems of scale? And basically, here are a handful of things that you can use to scale in real estate. Um, sorry. So deal sourcing, right? So how do you track those? How are you keeping a CRM? Are you managing what properties you made an offer on? This happened last week where I was mentoring a group. They made an offer. They got basically second place in the offer. So they were in best and finals, only two groups. The seller went with the other group, and they were bummed. And I said, you know what? Track it. Track what you offered. Track how you underwrite it. Make a folder. All that stuff, because chances are a lot of these come back. And sure enough, a week later, the broker called and said, hey, did your team or that your mentee want that deal? Because we don't think that the current person can close. So I was like, man, yeah, I think they would. So basically by them, I mean, it was a short timeline, but it does happen where they come back 4 months later, 6 months later, where they say, okay, hey, I remember you put an LOI. We're ready to accept that. So that's what's one. Underwriting analysis, of course, this one, this one's the one where you can get faster and faster and faster. Maybe someone on your team can get very good at streamlining that. Investor relationships. So again, this comes with tracking who you're talking to and when. So you can definitely systematize that. Due diligence is one that we have a tracker in our mastermind that we give out, and it's truly a powerful tool. Asset management comes with a million possibilities, and in capital is the same thing. It's tracking who you've talked to and who wants to invest, who's invested with you, all those things. Um, so really education. I mean, really that's kind of the end all be all is being in the right room and getting the right education. All right, this is the question you see a lot. All right, if I'm going to scale, what am I giving up? Am I giving up a ton of my time? Am I giving up all my energy? What should scale look like? Well, that's the thing is let's do this without sacrificing. I mean, let's not go crazy and burn out. Let's figure out a way to scale without sacrificing a whole bunch. So we'll put a copy of the 6-step action plan in the chat. So grab that out of the chat. There should be a link in there. And we'll also email this out with the recording. So if you couldn't make it today and you're watching the recording, we'll send that to you. But basically, I'll just run through it really quickly, is get your financial house in order, meaning if you have a ton of credit card debt, it might be wise to first pay that off, kind of get some reserves, that kind of thing. Figure out what you're investing. So Will on the call here, he said he's investing in storage. That's awesome. Figure out where it is that's your lane. If it's multifamily, if it's self-storage, if it's flipping and you super want to scale that, if it's whatever it is that you're doing, make sure you find that, get educated. So that's really huge. Figure out what it is that you're doing. Make sure that you are, uh, especially if you're taking on investors, you really want to make sure that you're educated. You know what you're doing. The next one's find partnerships. So again, I talked about that earlier. Find a great partner. So find your zone of genius. Find what it is that you're really, really good at, and also what you're really not great at, or more importantly, what you don't like to do. Number 5 is find a mentor. This is one I say all the time. I think no matter what it is that you're doing. I made a joke on a podcast earlier today. Even if you want to be good at sewing, find a sewing group that has people in there that are better sewers than you. and or whatever. I mean, it can be anything. Put yourself in a room of people that are ahead of you. And with that, find a mentor. Find someone that's ahead of you that can kind of hold your hand and be alongside you, or in a room of people doing it. Both of those are just incredible skills. I don't know anyone who's in real estate who has scaled, who has not either hired a coach or been in a mastermind or both. It really is the key. That's how I found my success. I think it's a powerful tool. Finally, and the most important to me is take action. This is something I say daily. My wife gets tired of me saying this. Nothing happens if you don't start. And even if you haven't quite figured it out, if you have the right mentor, you got to take action. So grab that in the chat. There's a copy of the guide, a 6-step action plan or escape plan in the guide. All right, this one's huge. What is the cost of waiting? What are you giving up if you don't go for it? If you don't go for your goals, what are you giving up? If you stay in a 9 to 5, I talked about my experience at my job. I looked at the timeline and I thought, if I have to be in this chair for 30 years, I don't know what I'm doing. Why did I put myself here, right? So it's predictable, it's safe, but it really was draining. And I think a lot of people can resonate that punch in the clock. Yeah, sure, you can rely on a paycheck, but what are you giving up? Is the fear of the risk worth the reward of kind of the paycheck? I'm not sure it is. That's just my opinion. I hated waiting for vacation days. The number one thing that my family and I spend money on is vacations, travel, and that's what we save our pennies for. That, I mean, we just really love to travel the world. And I live in Spain with my family now. I talked about that earlier. It's our number one thing that we have gone for. It's been our goal for lots of years, and we're here, and it's really truly amazing. Um, Sorry, one second. Okay. But I just got tired of waiting to submit my PTO request. I mean, 3 weeks a year was just not enough, and I just got tired of it. Less time with my family. I mean, the one thing again that we have pushed for is more and more and more time with my kids, and I'm really, really grateful to say I spent a lot of time with them. I couldn't before. I was working 40 hours a week and I was commuting an hour both ways. It was pretty miserable. And to give that up just because I'm afraid was really something I had to look in the mirror. And then generational wealth. I mean, I think real estate's a powerful tool. If you're looking to give your kids some wealth, this is a very powerful way to do it. So those are kind of the things I think you're giving up if you're holding on to those fears. So again, I mentioned the mastermind a little bit. This is now the first time I'll really introduce some people in there and what's going on. So you can see a couple wins here. Someone closed a 10 unit. My good friend Josh, he quit his job after 3 months of being in the mastermind. He dove all in and went for it, and he's crushing it. He's super pumped on not having to work, and he works for himself, and he's home with his family more, and he's making more money and all kinds of stuff. So, you've seen people take action in this mastermind. It's because you're around a group of people doing it. And that's what I was talking about. Super powerful to say, hey, I believe I can do it, and you have a group of people you can ask questions of. We have weekly call, get into that more a little bit, but just a powerful room of people. So this is meant to be a motivational slide. This happens a lot. We kind of hear the story of gold diggers who get 2 feet away from a goal and give up. And there really is kind of what we call a hockey stick effect. It kind of comes along where you're working, 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 and then you take the right action and boom, like everything changes. So that's what this slide is for. And then I really love the last highlighted word is it really isn't how can't I, it's really, or I can't, it's how can I, and then even better is how can we? It's what's the team you can put together, people you can work with, whether it's investors or partners or friends or family or whatever. I mean, it's people coming along with you in your circle. That's really how you scale. And looking back at these slides, we've talked about team a lot. So yeah, better question is how can we? All right, I'll ask if anyone has any questions, feel free to speak up or drop some questions in the chat. And then what I'm going to do now is basically ask for permission. So what I want to do is just drop some information in there. Give me a thumbs up, give me a nod if you're okay with me dropping some information about it, because I just don't want to put stuff out there. This isn't really meant to be sales call. It's meant to be motivational. It's meant to be, hey, you can do it. We do have this mastermind that is dedicated towards putting a group together that are all really motivated, really like-minded, believe that we can scale. So I do see a thumbs up. So I'm going to drop some stuff here in the chat. We'll email it out as well if you're watching the recording. But this is what we have. So we have a chat that's available 24/7. Again, I live in Spain, so I work weird hours and I'm on weird hours. So people ask questions late at night. I'm always jumping on there and asking questions. We have a quarterly check-in, so you can check in with me every quarter. We'll do an hour-long Zoom. I have a weekly live call, so we literally just had one. It's every Tuesday. We bring in a new guest with all kinds of groups. So last week we had a property manager. It was cool to kind of see the other view of real estate, of someone doing the other side. Today we had an expert on VA, so how to hire an assistant and what that looks like. And then you can ask your questions. So it's kind of like podcast format in the sense that like you get to ask your very specific questions every week. And then I created a course. So it's all about multifamily, but it really does apply to lots of real estate. There's lots of rules and regulations in there about syndications, and that applies to any form of larger real estate. If you're accepting investors of any kind, even if you're just partnering with people, there's some rules that I cover in there. There's all kinds of tips and tricks. There's a million tools in there, things that we built over time. So that comes with all of this. So the link is there if you want to check it out, or reach out to me. What I really love to do is talk. I love to talk to people and explain my journey, how we got to 1,000 multifamily units, how I moved to Spain, how I have really kind of cut the cord on working a 9 to 5 and what that looks like. And the cool thing is, I think anyone can do it. So check that out. This is a fairly quick run through. So again, if anyone has questions, even if you're watching the recording, take the chance to write me an email, ask me anything, or click the link to set up a call. I would really, really love to talk with you guys. My favorite thing in the world is talk about real estate, and talk about this mastermind, have questions I can answer, go for it. So appreciate you, those who are here live. Appreciate that very much. I know that your time is valuable. If you're watching the recording, same thing. Thanks for watching it. Thanks for being here. So we'll send out some information over email, and we'll send out the recording, and we'll see you guys next time. Thanks for coming.